Hello and welcome to Light Body Radio. I am your host, Dr. Lara May. I am a clinical pharmacist, Reiki master, and intuitive integrative health coach. As a health coach, I provide a safe, supportive process for aligning your dreams with your intentions. I will guide you to take small right action toward reaching your goals every week. Let's turn your vision into your reality today.
Thanks for joining me today, everybody. I'm Dr. Lara May, and I'm your host for Light Body Radio. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 most common limiting beliefs that are destroying your self-confidence. Now, I have to thank my husband for this episode. He inspired me. The other night, he said, "I am a golden god. How could you not love me?" Which I thought was extremely funny, but also really self-confident. And it made me start to think about how we all struggle with self-confidence and how I have dealt with this issue with almost every single one of my clients in some way, shape, or form. So I thought it would be a great topic for today's podcast. And just like last week, I pulled a card for some guidance and also inspiration. And this card comes from the Getting Into the Vortex deck by Ester and Jerry Hicks. And the card I pulled is "Flawed premises can attract true unwanted evidence," which I think is so perfect for today, since we're going to be talking about how our thoughts create our reality. So the card says, if you were to hear a false premise again and again until you yourself begin to believe it and repeat it, now your own activation of the contradictory vibration would interfere with your sense of intelligence, and you would begin to attract evidence of your belief, in effect, proving the false premise to be true. And so it becomes increasingly hard for you to call this a false premise when the evidence seems to be telling you that it is true, for over time you become to believe that is true. Now, these are a lot of words, and it might not have really made sense to you, but essentially it's what it's saying is that if you hear something enough, then you'll start to believe it. And a belief is just a vibration that we practice over and over and over, right? And they can be changed. So today we're going to talk about how to change these limiting beliefs that are destroying our self-confidence. So limiting beliefs are firmly held convictions that constrain us in some way. By believing them, we end up diminishing ourselves and impoverishing our lives. The limiting beliefs tend to destroy your self-esteem. They damage your belief in your own ability to make the necessary changes in your life that will lead to happiness and more fulfilled life. When it comes to the limiting beliefs that destroy your self-esteem, we're going to talk about the 5 most common that you may be holding on to. And I would love to hear in the comments or in the feedback if you have other limiting beliefs that you find yourself saying. Now, a lot of this comes back to our internal dialogue. So I'm going to talk about our internal dialogue some as well today. So the first one that you might find yourself saying is, "I don't deserve anything good." When you believe that you aren't worthy of anything good in your life, you will subconsciously turn down any reasonable opportunity that come your way or sabotage those opportunities that you've already received. This limiting belief disrupts the balance of giving and receiving. So something I talk about a lot with my clients is, even though we may practice all of these different manifestation techniques, or we have, our dreams and our wants and our wishes, at some point, we have to think about being willing and ready to receive. So think about that. The limiting belief, "I don't deserve anything good," really comes back to your willingness to receive and to your readiness to receive the good things in your life. So the second one is, "I'm not good looking enough." And I think especially women, maybe we struggle with this one. When you continue to fail at finding a date, you begin to question your appearance maybe. While appearance does play an essential role in delivering a first impression or that maybe attraction that you want to feel when you first meet someone if you're on a date, it's your charm and your heart that really matters in the long run. It can be hard to appear confident if you're always doubting your physical looks. So this is a huge one with women, is our self-confidence in our physical body and feeling comfortable in our skin. So after I go through all these, then I'm going to give you exercises and tips about how to address it. So the third one is, I'll only fail, so why should I even try? When you trap yourself in your failure mindset, you'll never have a chance to achieve success. Regardless of what you're doing, the more you fear failure, the harder it will be for you to move on. Instead, you need to learn as much as you can from each mistake and failure you've encountered and move on quickly from there. Maybe not even try to reshift your definition of failure. For me personally, especially in building a new business, I've really tried to reshape my thought around failure as each failure is an opportunity to learn and grow. And we can't learn and grow if we're not presented with challenges and contrasts in our lives. So while failure might seem super negative, I've really tried to reshape that. So I encourage you to do the same. And, if you have dreams or goals, don't let your fear of failure hold you up, because the true failure is not even trying at all. So keep that in mind when you are setting goals for yourself, which is what I talked about in the last 2 episodes. If you missed them, definitely check them out. So the fourth limiting belief is, I can't find happiness, or I'll never find that love of my life. If you don't know where to look for it, the quest for happiness in your life can seem like an endless journey. While you will always encounter negative emotions, even when you're bursting with confidence, happiness is a skill that you can learn. You just have to start being grateful for all the little things you have in your life and start making it a habit. And this is one of the specific things I'll talk about soon, is happiness is a choice you make. But it also is a practice. So if you're not in the practice of choosing happy thoughts, then you might feel that happiness is totally out of reach and not realistic. And so the last one that I'm going to talk about before I get to the tools today is the internal dialogue of, I am never going to be able to turn this around, or I am doomed. Those are sort of versions of the same thing. When you experience setbacks and challenges in your life, you may end up feeling anxious or depressed. When you hit rock bottom, you can't see anything good happening in your future. If you continue to strengthen this belief, it will eventually turn into your reality. If you find yourself in this situation, it's vital to make sure that you find some hope in something and start taking actions to dig yourself out of the hole. So action is the antidote to paralysis and stuckness. So even just the smallest action can start the momentum to get yourself on the path to whatever you're working towards. So don't continue to allow these limiting beliefs to hold you back from being a confident person and living the life you want. And one of the great resources that I have had in my life in changing my thoughts and my internal dialogue and my habits has been Gabby Bernstein. And she is a teacher of A Course in Miracles, and she's a self-help book author. And if you're not familiar with Gabby, I definitely encourage you to Google her or look her up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. She is out there on all the social media outlets. And she's a great teacher and has put out several books. But the one that I'm going to use today is my resource and to teach you a couple things is called Miracles Now. And it's a really easy, approachable book. It's 108 life-changing tools. And it's 108 little lessons to help you shift different things in your life. But the 2 that are really relevant today are actually the first 2 in her book. And the first one is, happiness is a choice you make. And this is very true. And you have to get into the habit of choosing your own happiness. So the first step is to pay attention to your attack thoughts. Be the witness to your internal dialogue. And this is something that Eckhart Tolle talks about too, if you're familiar with The Power of Now or some of his other work. Pay attention to your attack thoughts. Be the witness to your internal dialogue. Whenever you notice your thoughts going towards the negative side of things. Maybe you're beating up on yourself, or maybe, you're beating up on how you participated in a certain situation. Notice this and stop it immediately. And, one tool might be to keep a little rubber band around your wrist, and every time you notice yourself having an attack thought, maybe give it a little snap and say the mantra, happiness is a choice I make. Be willing to change. Willingness is the key. And once you start making this your mantra, happiness is a choice I make, you will start retraining your mind to choose happiness over worry, to choose happiness and love over these self-deprecating thoughts and words that we say to ourselves. Each time you choose happiness over worry, you're creating a small little miracle in your life, and that's something to celebrate. So every time we start a new habit, we are rewiring our neural pathways every time we repeat the new pattern. So again, pay attention to your thoughts, to the dialogue going on in your head. Be the non-judgmental witness to what is going on. And be loving toward yourself. Be willing to change. And remember the mantra, happiness is a choice I make. And this is how you will create new healthy habits. Now, this requires a commitment to choosing love over worry, to being willing to change, to being willing to loving yourself, loving your body, whatever your internal dialogue is, whether it's I'm fat, or I'll never get to that size on the scale, or I'll never get that job because of A, B, or C. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough support. Whatever it is, you can choose an opposite thought. You can choose a loving thought over these. And would you rather be happy or right? Personally, I'd rather be happy, but it takes practice. So just remember that this is a practice. It doesn't change overnight, but it is something that you can do, and you can be purposeful about it. So happiness is a choice you make. It is a purposeful intention to be happy. Remember that. And it is within your power. It is within your grasp. Okay. The second lesson in this book, Miracles Now, which I thought was really relevant to today's topic, is she calls it cleaning up your side of the street. I call it your thoughts create your reality. And this is also resonating with the material of Ester and Jerry Hicks and the work of Abraham. So your thoughts do create your reality. Have you ever noticed that maybe you are in the habit of repeating one of the 5 limiting beliefs that we just went over, and then you see that it comes true? And this is also what the card was talking about that I pulled for this episode. So if you think something long enough, eventually you'll be convinced that it's true, and then you'll see it materializing and happening in your life. So be very aware and conscious of the thoughts that you're thinking. I encourage you to make a list of your biggest fears or your most common internal dialogue negative attack thoughts. And I would write them down. And after you've done this, sort of look at them and say, how have these dominated my life? How have they created my reality? Are these becoming self-fulfilling prophecies? And so once you've looked at that, then, because this is all about getting real and being honest with yourself, because this is the place that we start from to create change. We have to know where we are to know where we want to go. And so once you have this list and you're examining it and you're doing some self-reflection, why do you believe these things to be true about yourself? Now, this could become uncomfortable. It could bring up some emotions of hurtfulness or sadness. But I encourage you to approach it with love and non-judgment and gentleness, because we are trying to heal maybe some places of hurt within ourselves, but also to create new patterns. And so we have to, again, know where we are to know where we want to go. So if you want to change these limiting beliefs, you have to know why you believe them to be true, right? So maybe the limiting belief is, I'll never be happy. Well, why do you think this? Did you see this play out with your parents, or have you seen this play out with your friends? Or, what have you seen throughout your life that has convinced you that this is true? Maybe it's patterns in your own life. So now once you've done this, I want you to go down the list and I want you to create an opposite statement or affirmation for each limiting belief or fear. So for the I'll never be happy, we've already talked about happiness is a choice I make. So that could be one. Or you could say, I feel happiness every day regardless of what's going on around me. And so for the limiting belief, I can never turn this around, maybe the opposite statement is, I am creating new and creative opportunities every day. For the limiting belief, I will only fail in my dream, maybe the opposite statement is, failure is not an option and every failure is an opportunity to love and grow. So again, go down your list and make an opposite positive affirmation or statement for each limiting belief. And so now when you feel or hear these inner dialogue statements coming up, these attack thoughts coming up, you can be the witness. Now you have a positive mantra to say that's opposite. So this is very similar to the first one, which was happiness is a choice I make. But now you have a very specific statement to counteract your negative statement. And also don't forget to, if this is part of your practice, to ask your higher self, your guides and your angels to also help you shift this perspective, shift your dialogue, and to create more love and happiness and acceptance in your life. So today's episode was short and sweet, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. Check me out on social media at Dr. Lara May. That's DrLaramay. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and YouTube. So I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.